I went and heard this guy speak, and he's really good. He's really good. So based off of that, we took it hook, line, and sinker.
How many of you manage people or lead people? How many of you have people responsibilities? Raise your hands higher. I'm old, I can't see. Okay, great. 80% of your employees' sense of engagement with the company, their sense of what their future is like, their contribution, their sense of their ability to get to come to work comes from you. It doesn't come from anyone else or any other place in the organization. It doesn't come from the CEO sending a memo once a year or a CEO sending a video, bringing you in on a video conference. Those things are important, but the most important part is what your relationship is with the people that work for you. And when you're recruiting, what you're trying to figure out is what's important to the other person. Do they want to develop in place? Do they want to run the company? Do they want to do this for a while? Do they want to be like kind of a middle manager person who gets to stay in a role and never move from their community? Their values are different than yours. When you're recruiting, your job is to try to figure out what they want, not necessarily what you want, because you've already figured out they're capable of doing what you want. But if you haven't figured out what they want, you're in trouble. The thing that you have to, if you don't know this, if you look at the research on CEOs' largest concerns and CFOs' largest strategic concerns within their organizations, it's preparing the next generation of leaders to fulfill their responsibilities. Like, who are we going to get to do this? Many of us had some form of a pension. I'm a late baby boomer. I had a couple of places where I managed to get a little pension, a defined benefit plan. That's not around anymore. You might still be in a plan that's available to you, but most companies don't have that anymore. They have this thing called a 401k, which broke in 2008. Experience happened to millennials where they saw their parents affected by this and the layoffs that were the result of it. I worked in the banking industry, and I remember reduction in force after reduction in force after reduction in force, and the sheer panic on people's faces during that time period, 2008, 9, 10. I was fortunate that I didn't lose my job, but I watched a lot of people get laid off and unfortunately had to be in part of that, of telling people that. So the experience is different when we look at millennials. Millennials delay getting married. They delay home buying. They are laden with school debt. And let me tell you why this is important. If your company is trying to hire a millennial and you have a school debt forgiveness program or some form of it that will pay them a bonus the longer they stay to retire their school debt, that's a differentiator in your company and will matter to them in ways. That's a benefit that they can't get everywhere. This generation, the ones behind the baby boomers, they communicate constantly, and it's going to become very important to you to understand this, right, as we move forward here. The way they communicate, and we talk about it like this: the message, the medium, and the messenger are all important, but they are constantly communicating, and if they're saying the right things, if the stories they are telling and the ones you are telling are the right things, that's perfect. If it's wrong, if it's a bad story, if it's poorly told, that's bad, because bad news travels fast. This generation is looking for coaches and not bosses. I want to talk to you a little bit about messaging and meaning as coaches. Like, coaches get a message across about a process or a system, but messaging and meaning, storytelling is what's important. When I was a child, my father and his two brothers told me stories at night with my cousins before bedtime. And they were stories that regaled me about the adventures of young men and women, and usually in rural Alabama. And they would teach us lessons about courage and risk and opportunity, and they were just fun things. And what I didn't realize at the time was that, my father and his brothers were teaching us lessons, but I also didn't realize what they were doing in terms of our relationship with them. The ability to tell a story will inspire people in ways that you can win their hearts and their minds, which I think is what coaches are after. Coaches want someone to want to perform on every down. They want someone who will work every play. that will focus on every pitch. That's what they want. That is a story to tell recruits. If you want to play in the NFL, come to work with us. Come play here. And it's so easy to think about what's in front of you every day to get done. You don't spend the time and energy to think about those things strategically and about what story you're telling, even when you don't intend to. And great coaches know that they go to their folks and they say, I need your help. I need your help to improve our organization. When we coach, it's about frequency and fervor. I'm not talking about an annual performance review. I'm talking about a consistent and regular discussion with people about what's important to them as well as what's important to you. If your only conversations with people or with your boss are about what you either aren't doing well or what you need to do better, that isn't coaching. When I was a basketball player, I was not a great free throw shooter, but my coach taught me to bend my knees, bounce the ball 3 times, take a couple of chances at, kind of pump the ball, and then release and follow through. There we go. He showed me how to do it. He observed me do it. He corrected what I was doing, and he asked me to repeat it. And that's what coaching is. It's also about the relationship. But I will say that it's useful as a coach to have a user's manual. None of us have ever probably written our own user's manual. But when we encourage people in organizations to write their own user's manual, like children should come with a book, right? They should come with something that helps us understand them better. My father says there's 3 things that people want to know when they come to work for you. They want to know, what's my job? They want to know, how am I doing? And they want to know if anybody cares. It's really simple. It's not easy, but it's really simple.